Hello everybody and welcome to today's webinar. Today we'll be looking at Business Voice, which includes an overview of some of the primary features within Business Voice and how you can configure and set that up, how you can use Scipio to make putting voice into Teams simpler and really bring it to life for your users. And then we're going to take a look at some of the services available to you as partners to support and growing your voice practice as well. So with that said, we'll start with a technical overview of some of the features of Business Voice.
Okay, so to start with, we're going to look at some of the core functionality that's found within Business Voice and the things that you can do to set up and configure these features. Just before we move on to that, very quickly, if the customer is just for the very first time using Business Voice, usually here in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center at the top, you'll see a prompt to set it up, and that's very quick steps just to set up your company number, the emergency address, and a few other bits as well. It's very straightforward. It's just something that I can't demonstrate on this demonstration tenant today. Now, to get onto the main bits, we'll navigate down here to the left to the Teams Admin Center. And once we're here, we'll see the main dashboard. However, the areas we're concerned with the most are on the left here under Voice. So we'll be looking at some of the core functionality, so things like call queues, AutoAttendants, and some of the policies around that. And then we'll move on just very slightly onto some of the material that you can use and absorb to learn this yourself as well in the more advanced elements. But before we move on to that, we want to do a bit of planning for the network side of things. And we use that under here, planning, in a tool called Network Planner. So what Network Planner allows us to do is understand the network requirements and potential impact of using Microsoft Teams and Voice in our organization. How it does this is using personas here on the right and network plans. So personas are representations of something you might find within your environment. So think an office worker, a remote worker, or maybe a Teams room system. And these are by default added here. However, if you want to add more, you can add up to 3 custom personas yourself. So if I went add here, that's an example. You can see I can name the persona, put a description in, and I can indicate the things this persona will be doing. So will they be doing audio, video, screen sharing, conference audio, conference video, PSTN, and they can all be factored into an analysis of the potential impact of all these factors on our network. So what we'll first start with is going to network plans and creating a new network plan since we've not done one already. So we have on the left here, we just give it a basic name, basic description, so test 1. And then we can apply that. And then what we do, we just click into test 1, and what we'll need to do within this network plan is add a network site. And what a network site is a representation of our network. So this could be representative of a building, an office, or something else. It's effectively just a representation of our network, and that will be factored into the analysis that we conduct. So what we can do is we can add a network site, and we can name it. And it'll be asking us for a bit of information about our network. So we can, of course, go through here and create an address if we like. However, we'll leave that for now and just put in some of the main bits. So how many network users are in our environment? So say 25. We can put some of our network setting in, so to our subnet and our network range, express route, and if we're connected to a wide area network. And if so, that'll ask for a bit more information, such as your WAN link capacity, audio queue size, a few other things there, but we'll leave that for now. And I'll want to know your internet link capacity, so I'll say 15 megabytes per second. What I also want to understand is your PSTN egress, and that's just information relating to voice. So we can indicate if we're using voice over IP only, or if we're using a local PSTN egress. So if we went local, we can say if we're using calling plans or direct routing. However, we'll stick with calling plans for now. And then we just click save. And once we've done that, we can then go to report and start a report based on that information. So again, we'll have to put in a name. And it'll be asking for a bit more information relating to our network site. So you can see here these personas we discussed previously. They are included in here, so office workers, remote workers, and potentially a Teams room system if we had that in our environment. And if you did create some of those potentially 3 custom personas, they would also be included here if you wanted to add them. So we'll stick with 20 office workers and 5 remote workers for now, and then we can generate a report. You can see here it's given us a bit of an overview of the potential projected impact of Microsoft Teams on our network. So you can see the network here, the impact, 3.8 megabytes per second, audio, video, screen share, some of the information we need, and we can expand that if we like, and get the full breadth if there's more information, but nothing too in-depth there. But it does give us an idea of potential requirements we'll have to have for our network, and depending on the customer's broadband speed, as an example. So now that we've looked at that, let's start looking at some of the main functionality within Voice, and we'll start with phone numbers. So Business Voice makes it relatively easy to manage phone numbers within your organization, and there's multiple ways to actually add numbers into Business Voice. The first of which would be by clicking Add here. We can then go through and add either user or service numbers for our organization. The difference being a user number is in the name, it's for our users to receive and conduct calls, and a service number would be for something like a feature such as an AutoAttendant or a call queue. The main difference being a service number will have a much higher capacity for concurrent calling than, say, a user number, so that's why we want to use that for our call queues and our AutoAttendants. So if we go here, we can click Add, give that a second, and it'll ask for our order name, so again, something basic, and it's going to start asking for some information about our location. So I'll put in here the United Kingdom, and it'll ask us for the number type we want. So there's quite a few here we can add. There's users, so subscribers, that's for our users to utilize, a call queue, both toll and toll free, an AutoAttendant, both toll and toll free, and a dedicated conference bridge. So for an example, I can go here and create a user subscriber number. It'll ask me for the city, so I'll just put something random in. And we can put in a location as well for our user, and if we need to, we can add a new location, and it'll give us the area code if we want. Or for an example, if I want to, say, have a call queue number, a toll, I can again select a city, select something random, and it'll give us the area code, and it'll ask us for the quantity, so say 1. Once we've done that, we can click Next. Oh, we need some description first. And then it's going to take a minute or two just to reserve these numbers for us. And once it's reserved them, it will reserve it for us for up to 10 minutes. So give that a second. And there you have it. So it's reserved those numbers for us. You can see United Kingdom, toll, area code, the quantity, and the actual number itself. And this will reserve it for up to 10 minutes. And if we then wanted that number, we just say place the order. But we'll leave that for now. So let's now look at some of the core functionality that you want to be looking at within Business Voice. We'll start off with call queues. So call queues within Business Voice effectively allow you to route callers to individuals or groups within our organization. This allows us to set a greeting message, waiting music, we can define the actual call routing itself, and handling options for, say, overflow and timeout. So we went Add. And we see a bit here in terms of what we can do with the call queue. But the first thing you'll see is asking us to add a resource account. Now a resource account is effectively a userless account that has a number assigned to it that will be responsible for things such as a call queue or an AutoAttendant. To create that, all we have to do is go down here to organization-wide settings and then create a resource account. So we can click Add, and then we'd start putting in the details about our resource accounts, the display name, the username, and the actual type of resource account it is, AutoAttendant or call queue. And once we've done that, we would then assign the number here that we've went and got through phone numbers, such as the service number. So we go back to call queues, we'll click Add. We'll look at some of the information that we can, some of the details we can put in here to customize this. to our users' requirements. So first of all, we'll put on the language, so English. And we can put in things such as an audio file for greeting. So if we want to have somebody record something, record a greeting for anybody calling into the queue, we can upload that here. And we can also upload some audio files for, say, music when someone is on hold. So then we can also look at defining who is in our call queue. So we can add in here a list of users and as well groups, if we like, that will be assigned to this call queue. Now by default, users added will be prioritised first, and then that will be followed by the groups. So I want to add a group, add a user, I'd go here. Say search for Alex and then Adam. However, Alex isn't enabled for voice, but that's just an example. If I wanted to, I could go add a group, and then search for some of the groups as well. So the next thing we'll have here is conference mode. Now this is effectively something that we can enable that will reduce the time it takes for a caller to get connected to an agent once the agent has accepted the call. Now this will work for users that will have the latest version of Teams installed, but it won't work for any users that are using Skype for Business as an example. So here, call agents who use Skype for Business won't receive calls when conference mode is enabled. Effectively, it just means that when someone accepts a call, they'll get connected through to the caller quicker. So routing methods is next, which allow us to define what order agents will receive a call. And there's a few that we can define here. So the first one is attendant routing. This will ring pretty much all the agents on the call queue at once. Whoever's the first to pick up is the person who gets the call. There's serial routing, which will ring all of the agents one by one, using the order that we specified in this list up here. So if the agent refuses a call, it'll go on to the next agent, and this will effectively try every single agent until the call's either answered or it times out. There's round robin. This method will allow you to balance how many calls each agent gets. So an example for this would be an inbound sales environment to keep things fair. So each agent will receive the same amount of calls and it'll keep it even and fair. And then there's longest idle with the final one, which is, it's in the name really. This call will go to the user who's been idle for the longest time. So if the current state is available, or if they've been away for less than 10 minutes on Teams, they'll be on top of the list to receive the call. However, if they've been away for longer than 10 minutes, they won't be eligible until they're available again. Next is presence-based routing. So presence-based routing, if we turn this on, this will use the availability status of each agent to decide if they should be included in the call routing list or not. So anyone who has their status set to available, they'll be eligible to receive calls, but anyone who isn't, they won't be on that list. So users who are available, they can receive calls, but if someone's busy doing something else, they're likely not going to receive any calls. And we can also define that we want our agents to be able to opt in and out of taking calls. If we have it on, they must answer it. If we turn it off, they can opt out. We can set a call agent alert time, which is effectively how many seconds an agent has to answer the call before it moves on. And then there's call overflow handling. So call overflow handling is we can set how many calls we're happy with being in the overall queue at once. So by default it's 50, but this can be up to 200. And we can also set what we're going to do if that call overflow, if it reaches the maximum amount of users in the queue. So an example, we can set it that by default it's just going to disconnect the user, whoever's calling, if it's reached above, in this case, 50, or we can redirect the call. So it can be redirected to, say, a person in the organisation. So we can search for, say, Alex as an example, and it would be redirected to him. We can redirect it to an external phone number, or we can just send it to voicemail. However, what we can also do is send it to another voice app. So we say have multiple resource accounts handling, say, other call queues, AutoAttendants. We could then redirect that number to, say, another call queue, and vice versa. And finally, call timeout handling. This is where we can set the maximum time that a call can be on hold in the queue. So it's 20 minutes and 0 seconds. However, this can be a maximum of 45 minutes. After which, if a call has been in that, say for in this case, if a caller has been in the queue for 20 minutes, after 20 minutes, it would time out, it would disconnect. Or we can have it redirect again. So just like the call overflow handling, we can have it say, redirect this to a person in our organisation, or voicemail, external phone number, or say another call queue or AutoAttendant as well. So let's now look at AutoAttendants. So an AutoAttendant is effectively a system that will allow callers to move through a menu system to get to the right user or department that they want to speak to. So an example being giving a user an audio prompt to press a certain button to reach, say, marketing or sales or a certain department within the organisation. So if we click add, we can go through and create a new AutoAttendant. So the first thing it's going to ask you for, optionally, is an operator. So this would be giving the caller an option or selection to instead speak to a human operator. So this allows you to define who that default operator would be, but this could also be an AutoAttendant or call queue. It is just, you're setting up a person within an organisation when they maybe don't have the right options on the menu, or they maybe just want to speak to somebody else. So that can be a person in the organisation, a voice app, or even an external phone number, or like I'll do now, we'll just say we don't need an operator. So we can set the time zone we're going to be in, so we'll just find down here, United Kingdom, and the language. And do we want to be enabling voice inputs? So we can either have it where the user will be prompted and they can press a number, or maybe we want them to respond with their voice and to say the actual response themselves. So I'll just quickly name this. And then we can go next. So next we can start configuring the kind of call flow and how this is going to look. So the first thing we want to think about is the actual greeting message. So we can either play an audio file, and just like the call queues, we can upload that audio file, or we can type in a greeting message and that will be repeated with a kind of robotic voice almost. And then we can start routing the call. Now if we like, we can simply disconnect that or redirect the call straight away. And if we do redirect it, it's the same as previously. We can redirect it to a person in the organisation, another voice app such as a call queue or AutoAttendant, or an external phone number, or even just straight to voicemail. But what we might want to do is actually look at creating some menu options. So for instance, I go here, assign a dial key, and I can say, if there was an operator, the dial key for an operator could be 0. So, you know, if none of these options match, press 0 to get to an operator, as an example. I can say I can press the dial key here, and I can say if I press 1, I can route that to a few things. So I can make an announcement through an audio file or a message. So say if you're getting the same question a lot of the times through your phone lines, you can maybe have it that when they press a number to get to that corresponding department who's responsible, you may play that response as an example. It could be an external phone number, a voicemail, or another voice app again, such as an AutoAttendant or call queue, or a person in the organisation. So I could do that and put in, say, Alex and someone else that would be responsible. But in the same respect, we can also start mixing this in and merging this with our call queues. So as an example, if I have multiple resource accounts set up and a few call queues set up, so you have a call queue set up for, say, marketing and sales or a few other departments, we could then have this set up where by going through the AutoAttendant, we simply route them to call queues, and we can keep that organised, efficient and simple without having to confuse things. Another thing we have here is directory search. So this is a feature that allows the caller to use their voice or their keypad to enter a full or partial name to search the company's directory. So that is either using the user's name, so say searching for my name to find me and get connected to me, or searching by extension, so say this allows a caller to enter the phone extension of a user they're trying to reach, and then they'll be transferred to that user. So I'll set these some default settings for now, because then what we can look at is some of the more advanced settings. So if we look at the advanced settings, we've got a few additional things we can set here. The first of all is, what does the call flow look like after hours? So what we'd do here is we'd look at for all the days here, and we'd set what our work hours are. So say 9 till 5 as an example. And if we do that, what we're setting is, as an example, this could be completely different. What is our call flow during that time? So we could say, play a completely different audio file or greeting message to say, hi, we're not in the office today, please call back on this time at this date. Or we could actually be redirecting the call and playing menu options for them, but we can maybe do it slightly different because we know certain people won't be working on the weekend or after hours, or maybe we have a specific call queue for those who are on the night shift, as an example. So I'll clear this out for now. And we can do very much the same for what is our call flow during holidays. So when we do this, we'd go through here and we'd add a holiday in. So that is done, generally speaking, under the organizational-wide settings within Teams. So you can add in holidays so your users are informed of them. But we can also define this exact same call flow of how that looks in, say, a public holiday. So maybe we do have a service desk or clients that we support regardless, and we'll still want to have a call flow functioning. However, we know it'll look different from, say, your average Monday to Friday. And then we can customize that to the users or the groups that we'll know will be working during those days. So we have dial scope. So this is effectively when we're thinking about the directory search that we spoke previously. Do we want to be explicitly including or excluding any users from that directory search? So an example included here, we have all online users included. However, we might want certain groups excluded from that are maybe a bit more sensitive. And all we'd have to do is put in the group as their name at domain for the group. And then they would be excluded from the directory search in this case. And just finally, we have the resource accounts. So this is where we'll add the resource account that will be responsible for this AutoAttendant, and we can add them in here. So leave that for now. And next what we'll look at is call park policies. Now, call park policies are interesting because what these effectively do is allow our users to place a call on hold, and when they do that, it will generate a unique code for them to then that call be picked up again. So as an example, say a user is on a call on their mobile device and they're about to run out of battery. They could then use this to put the call on hold, get that unique code, and then put it into a Teams desk phone and pick it up again. Or another example, say a support rep parks a customer call to get in touch with an expert, and they pass that code on to the expert to then pick up the call, as an example. So with these policies, we can assign these, we have the global policy here, but we can also assign these to groups as well, in which case we'd only go add a group, search the group and put them in here. There is a rank, so that is simply just, it says here, if a user are part of any other groups, this policy assigned, those users will inherit the policy from the group with the highest rank. So this policy being 1, if there's a policy with a ranking of 2 and the user's group a member of both, they would inherit number 1 first. So we can manage policies here, we can go here. And pretty simple, do we allow call park or not? Brilliant. So now let's look at calling policies. So effectively, calling policies aren't too complex. They're just policies we can use to control what features our users have access to as part of Business Voice. So we've got a few policies here, such as allowed calling, disallowed calling, as an example. But we'll just look at the global policy in general. However, again, you can apply these policies to a group and assign them to a group as well. So we have the global policy here. These are all the settings that are available. So there's quite a few here. So make private calls. Do we allow that? Do we not allow that? That's pretty straightforward. Call forwarding and simultaneous ringing. So this is whether incoming calls can be forwarded to other users or can ring another person at the exact same time. And it's the exact same for external numbers. Voicemail is available for routing inbound calls. So by default, that's user controlled, but we can either enable that or force disable that for our users. Inbound calls can be routed to call groups. So this controls whether incoming calls can be as it says, route to a call group. Do we allow delegation for inbound and outbound calls? So this allows inbound calls to be routed to delegates who will then make outbound calls on behalf of that user. Prevent toll bypass and send calls through the PSTN. Slightly more complex feature, but by setting this on, it will send calls through the PSTN and incur charges to the caller rather than sending them through the network and bypassing the tolls. Busy on busy is available when on a call. So this is another slightly more nuanced policy. So it's a new setting. So it configures how incoming calls are handled when a user is already in a call or conference or has a call placed on hold. So new or incoming calls can be rejected with a busy signal. So if the user is busy, and you can enable busy options at the tenant level or the user level. Regardless of how their busy options are actually configured, users in a call or conference or those who are on hold are not prevented from initiating new calls or conferences, and this setting would be disabled by default anyway. And allow web PSTN calling, which is pretty straightforward. Do we allow users to call PST numbers from using the Teams web client? So not the desktop client, but they're using it on the website. There is one more feature you can have, which is allow music on hold. So this is a policy that would allow you to turn on or off music on hold when a PSTN caller is placed on hold. It is, it's turned on by default and doesn't apply to call park and delegate features, but it's only available right now to be enabled via PowerShell, which makes it slightly more complex to enable. And finally, let's have a look at caller ID policies. So as an admin, we can use these policies to change or block the caller ID for both incoming and outbound calls. So by default, the number of Teams users when they're making a call can be seen when they make a call to a PSTN phone, and vice versa. The phone number of a PSTN caller can be seen when they call one of our users. So we can use these policies to display either an alternate unit, an alternate number, block an incoming number, etc. So if I go to the global policy here, you can say we can block the incoming caller ID, we can override it, so we select that, and then we can override it with, say, service number, make it anonymous, user's number, and if we have a service number, we could choose what service number that would be. So that is some of the core functionality within Microsoft Business Voice. There is some slightly more complex areas we can look at. So there are things here such as direct routing, dial plans, voice routing. We're not going to get too in-depth them or look into them right now, but we will provide you with resources so you can kind of study those elements and get to grips with them. And if you want to get in touch with us, we'll be happy to help you. But there's a few things we can look at. So the first one is emergency policies. So this can basically allow us to set a policy in how emergency calling is treated within an organization. So we go to the global policy here. We can see we can set a notification mode for when an emergency number is dialed. So we can send a notification and we can put in the user here, or we can have it to say whatever users we put in here are conferenced in but are muted, or conferenced in but are unmuted. And any user we put in here, we'd search their username and they would be a part of that process. Within Business Voice, and a large part of it is also the direct routing capability and what you can do there with your direct routing partner if you have one. So we go to direct routing, we can add a few things here for our SBCs and our voice routes. So for instance, if we're familiar with kind of the traditional UC technical side things here, you'll probably be familiar with a lot of the terminology. So we go to add, we can add some things about our SBC, so we can put in up here the FTC's FQDN, that has the hostname registered in DNS. We can set some settings on our SBC, so it's enabled, the signaling report, the options, the failover times, location-based routing, that's an example. Again, we won't get into too much depth here because it's a slightly wider conversation, but this functionality is all here, as well as voice routes. We can do the same thing, add a voice route description, select your SBC, you can add a PSTN usage record, and put some priorities around your dial number pattern. Again, we'll leave this as a bit of an overview. So that's been the overview of Teams Voice for today. Again, it's nothing too technically in-depth, but what we want to show you is kind of an overview of the features there, and if there's something you're interested in, please get in touch, because we'd be happy to help you kind of get a bit more grips with the technical side of things, and if you're looking to start or establish or grow your voice practice, we can help with that as well. There are a few things I will leave you with. So there are some very good training materials available from Microsoft on these voice elements. Which you would go to partner.microsoft for, so that's the virtual training series. And if you download here, Modern Work and Security Enablement for Partners, again on the partner.microsoft.com site, ENUS Training, Virtual Training Series, you can download here. And if you go through here, this is going to have quite a lot of links on various areas of M365. So you'll have security on there, you'll have Teams, but you do have Teams calling on there. So there's a lot of boot camps, there's a lot of resources, a lot of learning material.
Matt, thank you for the introduction. My name is Neil Whitelock. I'm joining you today from Scipio. And over the next few minutes, I'd like to share with you how we can help you respond to the growing demand for voice enablement in Microsoft Teams. We'll share with you some market insights, expand on the information that Matt has shared with you, but also share a range of enablement practice and tools that make the implementation and process efficient for yourselves, but also the experience a good one for your client. At this point, it's worth just sharing a couple of slides with you around the market behavior, the market trends that we are seeing. Now, traditionally, a customer would have a on-premise PSTN service, and they would then potentially look towards moving into a cloud version of the telephony environment. Now, this has been an obvious and consistent journey for the last 4 or 5 years. And then more latterly, we begin to see clients moving into the collaboration space in the last 2 to 3 years. Now, with the environment we've had to work within and the challenges that we've had to respond to in the last 12 months, there's been a material change in that journey. What we're now seeing is clients fundamentally moving from the left-hand side of this screen, which is their existing telephony, and then moving straight into the collaboration environment. Now, this is initially driven by Microsoft because they want their clients to benefit from their investment in Office 365 and Teams. It's driven by, obviously, the competition as well, because Google and Slack provide firm competition in that ecosystem. Most obviously, though, it's been driven by, again, the working environment we've had to develop as everybody's been working from home or working on a mobile or an agile basis. So this is the trend we are now seeing. It is accelerating, it is amplifying, and at this stage we don't see it slowing down. In fact, in the next slide I'll share some data points with you that really do reinforce the opportunity that presents itself, and then we'll go on to how we can help you respond to that market force. You'll see some obvious and very recognizable data points on this slide, the 258 million users that sit and operate within Microsoft M365. There is the ever-growing number of daily active users of Teams, but it's the number in the middle of the top row that is really of interest for the purpose of this call. There's around 30,000 organizations a month moving into Teams. That's a well-documented number. It's reported by Microsoft in their 10Q quarterly report, so we know it's robust. But the data point behind that is one that is shared with Gartner, but also with Microsoft by the clients as they migrate into Teams. And that is now 80 to 90% of those clients, as they're migrating into that environment, are acknowledging that they have to now update, upgrade, and migrate away from their old telephony environment and move towards cloud-based telephony. Ideally, and we'll share with you, how, but ideally voice enabling their Microsoft Teams so that they are really reinforcing those investments they're making in their Microsoft estate. But that's a large number of users and a very high percentage now acknowledging that they have to do something with their existing or legacy telephony environments. So a quick review of why this market demand is growing so rapidly. Obviously, the last 12 months has forced organizations to rethink how they operate. But we've also had the following challenges set by clients and partners across the globe. And let me share a few of those insights. Firstly, customers are looking to onboard and transition quickly. So I'll share with you in the next few slides some details around how the Scipio solution augments the details that Matthew has shared with you, and how Kevin Lloyd will share with you how services and support can be provided. But let's look at it from the client side for a few minutes. Again, clients are looking to move quickly in an agile way, and if possible, use out-of-the-box architecture and solutions, i.e. avoid having stuff that's built for them specially. Whilst that might be great at the outset, it does and can incur additional costs for the client because it's built for them. Fundamentally could slow down adoption and therefore the benefit. So again, what we've built, being ready for consumption, is a service that can be activated in minutes or days, provides the client a great environment to move towards, i.e. this is the voice enablement of Microsoft Teams, so that single pane of glass. Is supported by an environment of voice experts, whether that be the Scipio team or, as Kevin will share, the Ingram and Comscore team. But it's giving explicit voice expertise through implementation and support and that managed service. And ultimately helps the client to focus on three key areas. First one being enhancing their return on investment on the money they've made in Microsoft. We recognize that moving or migrating to Teams is an outcome that many organizations are already undertaking. The numbers on the previous slide reinforce that. But customers are also looking to make sure that they get the most out of that investment. So the voice enablement, putting the PSTN calling, might be the last 20 or 30% of the journey when the customer is migrating, but it's an important part of that journey because it really does bring to life that single pane of glass for the client to operate within on a per user basis. Now with that comes productivity. Again, the organizations are able to offer their customers a common platform, a single pane of glass to operate from. And as I'll share with you, we further enhance that with a range of tools and processes that allow for easy implementation and reinforce a strong adoption practice. Finally, and the key one for us all in the last 12 months, is the ability to be agile or mobile, or as many people are saying, the ability to work from anywhere. And this is where ultimately the voice enablement of Microsoft Teams really does hit home for many customers as a benefit both now but also for the future. Scipio is a ready for sale and ready for consumption service. The great news for partners is there's no requirement for any build, any coding or development. The good news for customers is that the service can be activated within minutes, and it provides the native integration of voice into Microsoft Teams. Now this allows them to drive additional return on investment from their Microsoft investment, to offer their clients the ability for a single pane of glass to operate for their collaboration, their workflows and their calling. And most importantly, as we've seen in the last 12 months, enable customers and their users to have a work from anywhere methodology. Now the details behind the Scipio service are in the points on the screen. So let me walk through some of these in a little more detail. Firstly, Scipio is hosted in Azure regions globally. In fact, we've got 5 primary regions and 2 secondary regions. So we have global reach across 60 countries for a Tier 1 carrier service. We've got high availability and redundancy across those 7 data centers. Because we are hosted by design in Azure. It means we can connect natively into the client's Microsoft tenant, both delivering the voice natively into Microsoft Teams, and more importantly, offering them the end-to-end security that so many desire. This service also effectively lights up the dial pad in Microsoft Teams and is not in any way, shape or form a third-party app. So again, it enables and supports good adoption of Microsoft Teams, driving good uptake by the actual users. And as I'll explain in the next slide around the Scipio panel, we also reinforce that adoption and knowledge transfer through a process of videos and content that is readily available for the Microsoft admin to help with the setup, but more importantly with the users to help them learn, adopt and utilize the voice calling in Microsoft Teams. Now, to complement that, we want to make sure that you as a partner can leverage what is built and more importantly focus on delivering a rich value and service around this voice application. So we've built this on Cloud Edition SBCs in Azure. We manage and monitor all of that technology for you. As I'll show you in a slide or two time, the service is acquired through various SKUs and bundles that are available in the Cloud Marketplace. And importantly for the customer and for yourselves, our commercial terms are very flexible. We offer a true cloud experience where you or the customer can scale up or scale down on a monthly basis, which ultimately offers flexibility in the technology because, again, it's managed and monitored by us and will scale based on either client demands or market demands. And importantly, that's matched and complemented by very flexible commercial terms. I'll come onto the panel in a second. Let me introduce the Scipio panel. This is available to partners and to clients in the Teams App Source store. It is designed to make the onboarding of voice an easy and efficient task for you as a partner and also for the client. It contains certain knowledge videos and training videos for both Microsoft admin and end users to help with learning, development, but most importantly, the adoption of the service, both enhancing the use of Microsoft Teams, but also how to leverage this application for voice calling, as clients tend to move, will be moving away from their old traditional and legacy PBXs. But let me just walk you through the three major steps on this tool. Firstly, it enables the client under your stewardship or under our stewardship to connect their tenant to the carrier services. Secondly, it will allow you or the customer to hierarchy how they connect to which of the data center regions. And logically, you can set up a call policy so that UK-based users can dial out through the UK Azure region. If the client has European or US hosted employees, then obviously they can call out through local Azure regions there as well. And it also enables the hierarchy or prioritization of the data centers for a backup and redundancy purposes. The third step is really where we are looking to supersede and replace that PowerShell process with an element of the tool that ultimately allows the user to download their users from an AD directory, assign or align the DDI numbers that we've either ported for the customer or we've been asked to activate for the client, and then upload that content in the form of a CSV file back into the tool. Now, there's a video that takes about 5 or 6 minutes. It's providing a real-time overview of this journey. It is available in our YouTube channel under Scipio, or if anybody wants to pop a question into the chat or Q&A at the end of this session, we can provide the link. But it's well worth taking a look. The feedback we have from our global partners and customers is it's this type of automation and tool set that really begins to make a difference for the clients, both in onboarding the service, using this panel to manage their clients, when they're on board, but ultimately enabling that adoption to take place a lot quicker. Everything I've shared with you so far is available in Cloud Marketplace. We have included these in relevant SKUs aimed at certain market types, which we think is relevant and will resonate with your clients. Let me walk you through a few of these. The first one is Education and Public Sector Connect, by design aimed at that marketplace, with pricing that we know reflects their expectation and sort of budgets available for this type of service. It includes the provision and porting of direct dial numbers, all of the automation and panel tools that we've shared with you earlier, and a bundle of minutes that reflects the usage behavior for that type of environment. We, on the right-hand side, could move right up to the enterprise level, so organizations with more than 300 users, where call consumption is far greater. Again, this includes the provision of direct dials numbers, the monthly rental of those numbers, or porting of the same, larger bundles of minutes, and again, aimed at that corporate environment. The pricing of that sits well alongside other offers in the marketplace. But again, we include everything that we've shared with you on this call. Again, the automation, the tools, and the fact that this is a ready-for-consumption service. So neither yourselves as a partner or the client need to worry about building or coding or setting up assets or other levels of service. The Business Connect offer, the one that sits in the middle here, for users below 300, is again, it's priced according to market. We've spent time looking at what the clients require, what they can anticipate having in the way of available budget. And again, because we're including the direct dial provision or porting and management and a bundle of minutes, this is giving these customers the opportunity to manage their budgets because they're buying a bundle per user. And with all three of these bundles, the only additional cost would be for any form of international calls. Now, something that's different to many of the offers out there is we're not asking clients to buy further bundles of minutes. In fact, what we do is we just charge them for the consumption of international minutes across their tenant. So if, for say, next week they make one call to the US for 10 minutes, that's all that organization would be charged for. It's literally as simple as that. They'd have their bundles per user per month, and they would just be charged for the collective consumption of any or all calls that were made internationally in that month. So in summary, what we've shared with you is how Scipio is a ready for sale and ready for consumption service. We augment this with quite a considerable library of marketing content to help you with demand generation. This is available in the Go-to-Market Hub, so I would suggest that if you have the opportunity, do take a look at that. There's around 16 weeks of content in there, ranging from email to social media content to webinars and video that you can use to make your clients aware of what is available or attract in new clients so that you can build these incremental revenue lines. I'd like to say finally, thank you for your time. I'm going to hand over now to Kevin Lloyd, who will take you through the support and managed services options available from his team. Thank you once again.
My name's Kevin Lloyd. I'm the UCC practice lead at Comscore, and today I'm going to talk about the services we have available that partners can use to help them build a Microsoft Teams voice practice or solution, and how those services can be used to help a partner construct the Microsoft Teams call-in proposition to take to customers. Comscore was formed in 2002. We always have and always will have a 100% channel-only model. We will only ever engage or work via a partner. We started initially as a break-fix company for comms equipment, which naturally led on to the associated professional services and the addition of other vendors and technologies. This led to Comscore achieving Cisco Gold Partner status around 12 years ago. Since then, Comscore have continued to expand up and build upon the services portfolio and purchased a Microsoft specialist services company around 7 years ago. Since then, we have gone from strength to strength in the Microsoft space. And we've continued to enhance and build upon our service offerings to bring in managed services and expand vendor accreditation with the likes of VMware and AudioCodes. We were then bought out around 5 years ago and are now 100% owned by Ingram Micro. We hold multiple ISO certifications around information security, business continuity, IT service management, environmental and quality management, which further showcases our skills and experience and credibility that we can provide on behalf of our partners. And we're happy to white label services, but it's much more common nowadays that partners introduce us as a service partner, as in a lot of instances through our vendor partnerships and ISO certification and industry experience and recognition, we enhance the partner's engagement and the credibility that we bring as Comscore. Comscore have a strong relationship with Microsoft and a history of delivering successful projects and solutions with Microsoft technologies. We're aligned UK partner technology strategist, and we're also backed by Microsoft Premier support. We have over 25 MCSE and expert level certifications among the consultants, which has led to us achieving 15 gold and 2 silver certifications. We're also one of only 8 Microsoft partners in the UK to hold the Microsoft Teams Advanced specialization in calling. We have a number of certifications that allow us to deliver Microsoft-backed services, including being a fast-track ready partner, one of only 25 in the UK, and also deliver Microsoft consulting services and Microsoft deployment planning services on behalf of our partners. At Comscore, we've built a number of packaged services around Microsoft Teams calling that a partner can utilize as required to complement their own services and solution, or to enhance their portfolio with additional capabilities that we can bring to the table. Our Teams professional services packages include price per user network assessment and Teams deployment. Both packages have a minimum 5 users and all delivered remotely. The network assessment will look at the high-level network topology, identify internet breakouts and sizes, work with the customer to build out user personas and provide calculations based on those to identify at a high level if or where issues may occur in the network. And we'll run the network assessment tool to test connectivity to the tenant and provide an estimation of expected core quality for calling services. For the Teams deployment, we'll speak to the customer to ascertain the configuration requirements before feeding those into a configuration spreadsheet for approval before deploying the agreed configuration and testing within the environment. We've also got a price per device deployment for handsets, headsets and conference phones with a minimum order quantity of 20. We'll go to the customer site, install the new devices where required, patch them to the data point and remove all packaging to a customer required location. We've also got packaged SBC deployments for connection to a SIP trunk and Microsoft Teams with both options for physical and virtual devices. Where physical SBCs are required, we can provide a site survey to assess the suitability and any prerequisites for the environment if required. All these services are aimed and tailored to provide that direct routing calling into a Microsoft Teams environment. We also have training and adoption services available around Microsoft Teams. The adoption service will assist customers with assessing the customer communication strategy for promoting Teams to the user base, how to get them to really buy into the change and uptake of the new system. Our adoption specialist will assess customer training requirements and help plan and schedule training to enable a successful rollout with high end user adoption and satisfaction around the calling elements. On-site and remote Teams power user and end user training options are available. Power user training will differ from the end user training in that it will include more in-depth training on features and options and how to present that to other users, while the end user training focuses solely on the end user usage experience of all the core features of Microsoft Teams client, including calling requirements where required. We've got remote bite-sized training options available to cover Teams calling features for up to 10 users in a 60-minute session. We have floor walk-in services, which provide a resource available during the early stages of adoption for customers when they've first rolled out Teams calling live. The resource can help support the user base with all feature and usage questions, leaving any support resource available for any back-end technical issues. We've got customized videos that customers who want to have access to training videos on Teams functionality and endpoints for their use and store them on their internal systems, allowing users to dip in and out of the training elements as needed. Comscore has multiple support options available aimed at a Microsoft Teams voice solution, from simplistic break fix right up to full managed service. We have options available starting with hardware replacement services to support handsets, headsets, conference phones and room devices, with multiple options for coverage and SLA from 8 to 6, 5 days a week, up to 24/7, 365 days a year. They come with variable SLAs from advanced hardware replacement with no defined timescale right up to a 4-hour fixed replacement service on most devices. Microsoft Teams voice support is available to cater for end user support on Teams calling features and functionality, with management of any escalation to Microsoft within the tenant. Customers also get the benefit of Comscore Premium Cloud support, which allows us to further escalate any issues if required. Voice managed services are available, which build upon the end user support option to incorporate all the tenant adds, moves and changes, as well as ad hoc reports from the tenant on request, and quarterly service and config reviews all around the Microsoft Teams calling functionality. All support and managed service options are available with both 8x6 and 24/7 coverage. SBC managed service options are available for customers who require an SBC for direct routing. We'll fully manage any audio codes or ribbon device to provide monitoring and incident management and resolution, as well as including a number of resource units per year for the device. Resource units are engineering time that can be used against any adds, moves or change required within the SBC environment. We are also able to assist with any bespoke requirement around Microsoft Teams voice solution. We can assist right from the start with pre-sale service to help partners assess and build out the full customer requirement. Comscore have got a proven framework to deliver professional services projects, which include a phased approach that covers the assessment, envisioning of the solution, design, deployment, and the adoption of the service. We can assist with any third-party elements required to build a complete Teams calling solution, including the introduction of analog, contact center, call recording, DECT, or attendant console devices, as an example. We can also assist with the integration of Teams environment with any on-premises solution that currently exists, to either continue to take use of existing functionality they want to keep, or to aid migration of users and features as part of the project. As well as individual service elements, we've joined together with Scipio to build a joint proposition to enable calling within Microsoft Teams. We've brought together Scipio calling connectivity with Comscore voice deployment and managed service to build a joint proposition that brings a core calling solution for Teams based on a simple price per user per month model. The service is available at varying contract lengths from 12 to 60 months in 12-month increments. For these propositions, we've taken 3 Scipio connection options. We've got the UK Business Connect, which brings 1,200 domestic minutes per user. It includes any number porting and includes the ongoing DDI rental costs. We've got the EU Business Connect that includes 500 domestic minutes per user, includes number porting, and again includes ongoing DDI rental. And we have the Enterprise Connect to provide a scalable calling option beyond the 3,000 user mark, which the Business Connect options are aimed at, to provide core Teams calling connectivity, but without DDI rental and porting or inclusive calling minutes. The second element of the bundle includes the deployment of the Teams voice solution. We'll set up the Scipio service within the tenant and work with the customer to assist with the onboarding of users, as well as defining the calling configuration requirements for the call queues or AutoAttendants and the building information to feed into the call analytics and call quality dashboard. We'll then configure the Teams voice solution to the customer requirement and fully test it. The final bundle element is the Teams voice managed service. Comscore will provide 24/7 support for all end user and tenant issues and configuration, as well as adds, moves and changes within the Teams voice solution. The UK Business Connect bundle includes the core Business Connect connectivity, inclusive of 1,200 domestic minutes, with all porting and DDI rental included. The deployment and ongoing management of the Teams voice element is included within a contract term, which is available from 12 to 60 months in 12-month increments. Calls to all numbers, including international not covered by the domestic plan, are charged on a pence per minute basis and receives a separate monthly bill. Similarly, the EU Business Connect bundle, which is available for 12 countries within Europe, including Austria, France, Germany, Ireland, Italy, the Netherlands, Portugal, Spain, Sweden and Belgium, includes the core connectivity but comes inclusive of 500 domestic minutes with all porting and DDI rental included. The deployment and ongoing management of the Teams voice element is included with the contract terms, and it's available from 12 to 60 months in 12-month increments. Again, calls to all numbers, including international not covered by the domestic plan, are charged on a pence per minute basis and receives a separate monthly bill. Lastly, we have the Enterprise Connect bundle, which includes the core connectivity. It's scalable past 300 users, of which the previous two are limited to, but it doesn't include the DDI porting, DDI rental, or it doesn't include any calling minutes per user. All DDI porting incurs a one-off cost, with ongoing DDI rental priced individually based on the country. Calling is all charged on a price per minute to the destination. As with the other bundles, set up and managed services included, with options from 12 to 60 month contract durations in 12-month increments. In summary, Comscore have the capability to provide a full end-to-end Teams voice solution, regardless of the complexity or the requirement. The individual solution elements that we've covered throughout the slides are the building blocks to provide an end-to-end Teams solution. Partners can consume Comscore services as much or as little as required to complement or complete any current service offering. Whether it be as little as layering in 24/7 support into a current offering or utilizing every service to build a full proposition, Comscore services can be used as little or as much as possible to help partners bring a voice practice into service. Thank you very much for your time today. I'll be available in the following Q&A session to answer any Teams voice solution or service queries that anyone has.
Hi everybody, thanks for joining the webinar today. Hope you found that useful. We're going to be hanging about for a couple minutes, so if anybody has any questions, feel free to post them in the chat and we'll either answer them live now or get back to you when we can. In regards to that as well, we're also going to be recruiting currently for partners for our Voice Expert program. So if you're interested in growing or establishing a voice practice or building more expertise in this area, there'll be a link to the left under resources where you can fill out a form and apply to that, and we'll get back to you on that as well. So we'll hang about for another minute or so. So if anyone has any questions, just pop in the chat.